In this video, I'm going to use 2 leftover billets from the previous project and combine them with some additional layers of 1084 and 15N20 steel. Then forge weld them into a Mosaic Damascus pattern. This is a long process that will include several forge welding sessions. Thank you for joining me on this journey, as I am not experienced in creating mosaic patterns. So, let's see how it turns out. my stinking ruler. Shit. Okay. Now let this slowly cool down in the forge. All right, we're at the point in this build where earlier we four-wayed several times this particular billet to create a mosaic pattern. And really, when I just stopped running footage because it became a real pain in the butt. So I just was digging in and getting it done. But where we're at right now is once you have your last four-way done, you draw that out to a specific length, whatever you have, what material you have available, and whatever thickness it is. And then you measure that thickness and you cut the angles at about 35, 40 degrees, 45 degrees, whatever. I think I came out to about 37 degrees here for these particular pieces. So, and then you put them, you have to weld these together. So we need the face of these so you can see the pattern on the top. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to weld these to some sheet metal to keep all of the air and oxygen-free environment out of these seams. And once I get that done, I'm going to stick it in the forge and then we'll forge weld this together. So it's basically going to end up welded together like this and then forge welded, and then I'll have to take off the sheet metal pieces. I'll have to grind them off. So that's the next step. Okay, we're all welded up. That was something. But we're ready to put it in the forge and hope for the best. So let's get her done. Let's grind this off and see how we did. Well, everything seemed to weld up okay. So this is the size of the bar we have. You can't really see the pattern in there because it's so tight. So we're going to get it back in the forge, draw it out a little bit, and then we'll start shaping a blade out of it. During that last session, started to get some separation in the seams. So I stopped. Well, actually I had used some borax, which I really didn't want to use because it really eats up your forge. But that being said, it seemed to have sealed these up a little bit better, and I did grind out some of the spots that were still sort of an issue, but they were just surface area. So we're going to give it a go, see what we can make out of this billet. Well, so far so good. It's looking pretty solid. Okay, the rest of this is going to be stock removal, so I don't disrupt any more of that pattern. But that should do. I don't see any other separation cracks, maybe a tiny bit on that edge, but we're going to grind that out. So it looks pretty good. All right, the profile's been rough ground in, and now I'm going to even up the shoulders where the Tang meets the ricasso. After that, I'll take it to the surface grinder and get it cleaned up real good, and then we'll be ready to put the initial bevels in and heat treat. So let's do this. Okay, got my center line marked, and we're going to rough in the bevels. So this is just a piece of random Damascus that I don't know what kind of pattern it has. It may just be some straight layers or W's, maybe even a twist pattern, I'm not quite sure. But that's more than enough for a guard, and that's what we're going to use. So we'll get it annealed and then start to shape it up. Well, those gaps aren't going to do, so let's fix it. Okay, the guard is got a nice fit up, nice and tight around the ricasso and the Tang, and it's profiled. So now it's time to work on the handle, and we're going to use this piece of stabilized birch, and then it's for some spacers in between the guard and the birch is going to be some G10 spacers, which are black, white, and then black. So we'll get started working on those and get this finished up. Okay, handle material is ready. Liners have been glued on, and I'm prepping the blade for bedding the Tang. So what bedding the Tang does is it makes it so that it fits in there the same every time you take it in and out. There's not a lot of play with it right now, but there's still a little bit of play in there, so we're going to fill it with epoxy, let that set up to just where I can pull this Tang out. I have the Tang in the bottom of the guard, all lathered up with some Vaseline in the top of the handle material also, so it will separate from the guard and the Tang will slip out of there. So let's get this mixed up and get this Tang bedded. You all still here? If you made it this far, I appreciate that. This is a long one. A lot going on in the process. First time for me to do this particular type of Mosaic Damascus, and it was fun, I tell you that much. I truly thank you for your support. Thanks for sticking around. I'll just jump right into the final pictures, and we'll skip the rest of the process as far as the etching goes and putting everything together. You've seen that before, you know what that routine looks like. And stay tuned for the next video. I'll be making a sheath for this particular blade. Not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but it will be a leather sheath instead of a Kydex sheath. I think this particular hidden Tang style deserves a nicer looking sheath, so I'm going to go ahead and put together something nice. So stay tuned for that. Again, thank you very much. I appreciate it. God bless you, and you'll have a great day.